Greetings YouTube and welcome to the latest weapons build. I'm going to try to build a flail, and I'm going to build it out of the striking head from this piece of tubing. This will be the shaft, that's going to be the butt cap. I will wrap the shaft with, or the bulk of the shaft with cordage for grip. I'm going to use this old piece of chain which I got quite a while ago. Going to use some fasteners. Interestingly, this already had a hole in it, which means I don't have to drill holes in it. And one side is the right size, and one side it isn't. So I'm going to have to open up that hole right there a little bit. And this bolt is going to be what holds the chain. And I'm going to use 2 nuts and 2 washers on either side of the chain to hold the chain in the middle of the striking head. So the head's going to be hollow. But this tubing is almost 2 inches in diameter, and it's 150 thousandths of an inch thick. It's heavy. I think it might have been some kind of a lally column, small scale lally column. I'm not positive. I found this piece of tubing by the side of the road, so it cost me nothing. But it's got a hole here and a hole here. So I'm just going to reuse the hole here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark off a section that's going to be the width of the same as the diameter, so 2 inches with this hole in the middle. And then I'm going to cut it, and I think from like a stylistic point, I'm actually going to cut it at a 45-degree angle just for fun. So 45 here and 45 here. That'll give it a little more visual interest when I'm finished. So that's going to be 2 cuts on my chop saw that I have here down at the shop. Now I'm going to probably open the hole up while it's still together, because it's easier to put this into my vise and hold it. Or actually I may probably just clamp this to my bench. It'll be easier to do that before I go and chop it up. Now to join the 2 objects, the chain here, the chained head, and the shaft, well, the chain's obvious, that's real easy. It's less easy here. So I think what I may do is do the same thing, because I thought at first, like, I could take a ring and I could split the ring and drill a hole. I think that's going to be a pain in the butt. So what I think I'm going to do is the same thing I'm doing for the head, which is just use a smaller bolt, probably a 1/4 and I got lots of those. Drill a hole through here, right through the threads, and then pin the whole thing together so that when I'm finished, this chain will be attached on both ends with bolts. That'll probably be the smartest and the easiest and the fastest way. This may have had a little bit more visual interest, but it means splitting it and having to feed it through holes, and then splitting it, bending it, feeding it, rebending it, and then hoping it doesn't come apart. Yeah, using the bolts is a lot safer. It's not going to come apart at all. So that's probably what I'm going to do. Because I will actually probably try swinging this thing just to see what it feels like. And I would rather not get hurt, really. I get hurt enough doing these projects as it is. I am constantly getting metal stuck in my fingers and stuff when I'm working down here, or burns. And even though I wear goggles and I'm trying to be careful, I still get metal filings in my eyeballs because of grinding and cutting with an angle grinder. It is the disadvantages of working in a shop. Accidents happen. So I'm gonna have to go find a bolt. Then I'm gonna have to start drilling and cutting, and you'll probably see me next when I get to what this looks like in its final form. That'll probably be my next step. So here we are. I cleaned the tube off for the handle, and this is the head. Now I actually missed the center. I did not get quite as centered as I wanted it to be. Using my cutoff blade, my cutoff saw sometimes not an exact science, but this is what the head's going to look like, and it's nasty as all get out. This is going to be a very, very nasty looking flail head when I'm finished. This is going to be unusual. I've never seen a flail quite like this, and that was the goal, was to build something that was out of the ordinary. I noticed while cutting it, there's paint on the inside. So whatever this was, it was mounted vertically, like this. So they painted it, and the paint leaked on the inside. So I think it really was some kind of small-scale lally column. I hope whichever house it came out of is still standing. So next up is going to be drilling I have to set up my V-block in my drill press, and I'm going to have to drill a hole in this for my bolt, which I'm going to use that bolt to be the bolt which goes all the way through here and holds the chain in place. And once I get that done, I will cut this thing off to length, as I will cut that one off to length as well, because it's obviously far too thick to go, far too long to go through this. When I'm finished, it will not be too long. My buy-in on this particular project is pretty low, because everything is being reused. I mean, everything I've got here, all the fasteners were for other projects or just purchased as fasteners. The tubing was free. This was purchased for a different project, so which cost, I don't know, like $5 or $6 I think for that tube, plus I think $2.50 or something for that cap. So my buy-in to this is pretty low. This is not an expensive project. Now I could have cut this with a hacksaw, of course, if you really wanted to. You could have used a Sawzall if you're talented with one. I'm not. You could use an angle grinder to cut with this with a cutoff wheel, particularly if you have like a 5-inch angle grinder as opposed to like a 4-inch angle grinder, which is what I've got. And so there are other ways of achieving this end. You don't have to have a spiffy cutoff saw, but it does a really nice job of leaving a good cut. I happen to love that thing. I think it's worth the money I paid for it. So next up is I'm going to set my V-block up, so that I can then drill a hole here all the way through the bolt, all the way for the tube for that bolt. The hole is drilled for the attachment to the shaft, and once again, my Blair Roto Broach kit just saved the day. That thing cuts through this soft type of metal so well. It is just a dream. So we're all set on this. I'm not going to deburr that at all. I don't want to screw up the threads. I want the threads to look kind of pristine. And once I get the bolt and the nut in place, you're not going to see those burrs anyway. They're going to be completely hidden. So the next thing to do is measure out how much chain I want. Cut said chain, because I'm going to need to use my angle grinder with a cutoff blade to get the chain cut. Then going to be wrapping the handle, placing the butt cap on, and then final assembly. Yeah, those are going to be the steps, because I need to get the wrap done prior, because it'll be too much of a pain in the butt to do this when it's all assembled, and I want to get the wrap on there before I put the butt cap on there, because the butt cap's going to come right up next to where the wrap will end, and so that will be in my way. So yes, so next is cutting the chain to the length that I want. Chain is cut, handle has been wrapped, the cap is in place, so now all I gotta do is bolt this whole thing together and then clean up the bolts, because both of the bolts are way too darn long. Once that's done, we're good to go. It's wrap up and then it's picture time. Here we have the final product. I've polished up the little bolts I cut off, so they look nice. Whoops, they look nice and shiny. And this is what the assembled object looks like, and it is really quite dangerous. This is it's a really dangerous toy. It's got a nice feel to it, and the chain is just about perfect. If I grip this right about here, it's perfect because it doesn't hit the floor. It's just free. So you can come up on an upswing with this thing without any difficulty, and the shaft is long enough so that it is very readily used with two hands. I'm really not strong enough to use this thing one-handed, I don't think, with a shield. I would have to use this thing two-handed. I don't think I'm strong enough to do it with one. But this thing is just nasty. And it's got that wonderfully Wasteland look, which I happen to love so much. Alright, so now it's going to go outside. It's got some good light today. Going to take some pictures. They will be posted at the end of this video on my DeviantArt and on my Instagram. So go check those out if you would like to. I hope you have enjoyed this flail, and I have another idea for a second flail using the same model. So it would have the same, everything here would be identical. And everything, this would, the shaft and everything, I wouldn't show that probably because I've done this video. And again, just a piece of chain, but the head is going to be something I've never tried before, and I don't believe I've seen one online before. I do a lot of searching for images of post-apocalyptic and Wasteland style and weapons, and I don't think I've seen one of the idea I'm kicking around in my head. I have, there was a guy on DeviantArt that had used the junk weapon description, and I've completely hijacked it. His stuff's still on there, but most of the pictures now under junk weapon are mine. Makes me feel slightly guilty, but it's a good term. I like it, so that's why I use it. All right, thank you for being here. I hope that you'll come back for the next build.